Hello, it's Carmela here for the March project, which will be shipping later this month. I just been working on my project and I thought I would really love to do you a tutorial to play with until you get your box. So as you saw on the title screen, the first stitch I'm going to show you here, which you may or may not already know how to do, is a foundation treble crochet. Remember, I'm working in UK terms, so in US terms, treble crochet is double crochet. So here's how we begin. This is not the yarn for the project, by the way. I'm just showing a nice brightly coloured yarn against a white background and a thicker hook. You'll be using either a 5 or a 5.5 for your project, for the March box, depending on your tension. And if anyone needs me to get a 5.5, I can get those for you. So let's start with the foundation treble crochet. Okay, so to start the foundation treble crochet, you simply create a slip knot and chain 3. So we just have 3 chains on the hook. Yarn over, insert into the first chain that you made, making sure you go through the top loop and the back bump. So you just want to wiggle it and push it through the bottom loop of that chain. So you have 2 loops on top there. It gives you a nice, neater start to the foundation treble crochet. You now have 3 loops on your hook. We want to yarn over and pull through that first loop only. This gives you your foundation chain that you've just created, and that's where you're going to be going into for the next part of the stitch. Now we want to finish the treble crochet, and we do that by yarn over, pulling through 2, yarn over and pulling through 2. And here we are on our way. So where do we go next? Well, if we yarn over and look at the bottom of our work, just where the tail is sticking out from, you'll see 2 loops here. You want to go into there, yarn over, pull through, and again you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through that first loop to create your next foundation treble crochet, your next foundation chain, and then complete the treble crochet. Okay, now that we have 3 loops, technically 3 stitches, I want to teach you a little tip here. When we yarn over and go into that base chain to create the next base chain, so there we've created our next base chain, you just want to pull this stitch up a little bit because we want to avoid this from curling as we create it, which can easily happen if we work too tightly. And I have a tendency to work too tightly and I figured out why. It's because I'm pulling my stitches down as I work. So for this time I need to just be a little bit more loose. So pull through 2 and then tip it round and pull through the top 2. And we kind of want to maintain that. It's almost like you're working, how can I say that? You're kind of working as if you're starting here but then you're ending here. So not completely this way, and definitely not that way, and not all this way, but a little bit of all of it. I'll show you. So yarn over, insert into the chain, the base chain you just made, pull through that loop, and then yarn over and pull through 1. So you've made the next base chain, and just tip it up slightly. And what I found that I find I'm doing is I pinch that base chain I've just made, and then I finish the stitch, and it kind of almost naturally pulls it down as I work. I'll show you again. Yarn over into the base chain, create your next base chain by yarning over and pulling through that loop, pinch your base chain, pull that up very, very slightly. We don't want it like up here, otherwise we're going to end up with a big loppy loop. So just very slightly, then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Can you see how it naturally wants to just fall that way? That way we get a nice, straight, very even length of stitches. So I suppose I'd better tell you how many stitches to make for this swatch sample. I would make 20 stitches Is that right? 20 stitches. The pattern is a multiple of 4 plus 2 stitches at either end. So it's a multiple of 4 plus 4. So we're going to work 20 stitches for this swatch. So how have we got? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 so far. So you keep going as well, and I'll keep going, and I'll meet you after the magic sprinkles go across the screen, and we've both got 20 stitches. And as if by magic, here we have 20 foundation triple crochets. If yours looks nice and straight like that, fantastic. If it looks a little bit slightly curved like that, don't worry. If it looks really curved like that, my best suggestion would be to just go back and try again. Or if you find that it's great to hear and perhaps this bit went a bit wonky like that, maybe just pull it apart and try again, because it's really worth grasping this stitch, because once you've got the knack of it, it's a really great stitch to know, and you can just use it to be, if you've got to do a treble crochet or a double crochet base, chain and base for any particular pattern, this is a fabulous way to start, because it's super stretchy as well, and it's just so quick and easy to do, and it will become second nature. Once you've sort of mastered it, it will become second nature. So continuing on with our swatch, the next thing you need to do is turn your work and just do another row of treble crochets or double crochets US. And as if by magic, here is mine. Okay, so for row 1 of our swatch, you can use a chain 3 if you prefer, not a problem, but I do like to fill my chain 3 instead with something called a beginning treble. This is probably not how some people do it, and that's totally fine. You can do whichever method you prefer, chain 3 or whatever, but this is how I do mine. So into the first stitch, make a single crochet without making a chain first. Then we're going into the side loop here, just insert, pull through and finish the single crochet. That is my beginning treble. Beginning treble double crochet. If you're new, like you've just finished beginners, or you've just a new student to crochet, or you've just learnt to crochet, and you're not sure when you come back the other side where you'd go in here, just put a stitch marker into the top bit here, into the 2 loops at the top. That's where you'll be going into, and it will mark your spot when you come around the other side. Okay, so that was the first stitch. We're going to put a treble into the next stitch as well. Now I want you to skip 2, and we're going to work a double treble, which is 2 yarn overs, and this is called a treble in US terms. So we're skipping 2, then we're going around the post of the stitch. So we're not going in the top, we're going around the whole post of the next stitch. We're going to pull our yarn over, pull it through, then we're going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And there we have our first cable. I'm going to do that again in the next stitch. Oops. And a little thing as well here, when you do this post stitch, and you do try and bring your yarn around over the top of the stitch, because sometimes it can get caught and you're squishing the stitch down, so you want to make sure you're bringing it over the top of this stitch you're working into, if that makes sense. Too much information. So finish that double treble off. Then we're going to go back to the two skip stitches which are here, and we're going to cross in front of the work. So that means you make your double yarn over, going back to the first of the 2 skip stitches, around the stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then just pull it up very slightly, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And we do the same in the second skip stitch, and if you can't find it, just poke it out from behind, yarn over twice, around the stitch, and then finish, pull it up a little bit on that first one. Grab some more yarn here. Yarn over and pull through 3 times. And there you can see we have a big lovely crisscross cable. Next we do that all the way along, so you're going to skip the next 2, so you can see where we've worked because that's pulling that way. And if you're stuck, look at the top of your work and just see what's not been worked into. Yarn over twice, skip these 2 into the next one, around the next one, I beg your pardon, around the next stitch, and then do the pull throughs 3 times, yarn over twice, around the next stitch, make sure yarn comes over the top, yarn over, pull through 2, 3 times, and there we go, that's the second one. Now we go back to the skip stitches, double yarn over, through, sorry, I beg your pardon, I must use the words around because that is the correct term here, around the post of the stitch. And then we want to pull that first yarn over through, lift it very slightly, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. It's very long-winded to say that, isn't it? So again, double yarn over, around that skipped stitch, pull through, lift, and then finish as before. And there we have 2. Work that all the way along until you have 2 stitches left. There we go, and we have got here 1, 2, 3, 4 lovely crosses, and in the last 2 stitches you just work a treble or a double crochet US into each of the last 2, and that will be the first cable row of your pattern. Turn your work. So for the back post treble crochets, what you do is you begin with the 2 trebles at the beginning of the row, either a chain 3 or a beginning treble, and then a treble in the next stitch. Then we're going to work, I'll talk you through it first, we're going to work 2 back post trebles in the first 2 stitches, which is these 2 here, and you can see from the top of your work, it's these two here, they're pointing to the right. Then we're going to skip the next 2, these ones here, and then we're going to work 2 more back post trebles into these 2, and then we're going to skip back and work into these 2. So that's the process, but it's always the first 2 are just on their own, so there is no skipping back for the first 2 because we've used the first 2 to make a border here. So double yarn over into the first back post double treble, do your yarn over and pull through 3s. Let me just go in a little closer for you. There we are. Just got this picture here because I thought it's a cute little flower. Double yarn over into that first back post, oops, I'm looking at the camera, back post double treble, if I look down at my work and then look in the camera, I find that I've drifted off camera, so I'm trying to do a bit of both. Then we're going to skip the next 2, and we're going to work in the next 2, which is again these ones here pointing to the right. So work into those 2. Like so. Now we're going to skip back, crossing over behind the 2 that you just made, into these two here. Now this is a bit tricky to show on camera, so I'll do my best. So they're tucked under here from the rear of your work, and they're showing up nice and brightly here in the work facing you. So the trick is to wiggle around and get into and around that first one. So I'm just putting my finger in where I want to go and guiding the hook down my finger and into and around that stitch. That's probably the best way to describe it. And then I found the easiest way to do it is to just pinch that stitch in place and then work the yarn overs. And it seems to just separate all those loops out on your hook, and you can just slide into them. I'll show you that again. So double yarn over. This is the next one we want to go into. And so I've just got my finger on it. So I'm just tracing the line of my finger. I find it, go around it and back out, pinch the bottom of it, and then do the yarn overs, pull throughs. And that is the best, kind of clumsy, but best way to show you. Now I'm going to work the rest of the row for you, and you can watch me. Then you'll have two at the end here on their own. All you need to do is just back post into these last two posts here, and then you just treble crochet, treble crochet UK, double crochet US into the last two. So we'll double treble into these last two post stitches and get those finished, which that's all you do for those, because they're just like the border. This is a little scruffy, I apologise for this, but I really hope this helps somewhat. So just going to do normal trebles UK into the last two stitches, and there's where I place my stitch marker for new beginners, so I know where to put my hook in that last one, which was a beginning treble, not a chain 3. And that, as they say, is it. I don't know what happened there, but I've got a bit of a squiggle on my yarn, but that's how it looks in the front. So you're getting these lovely crosses in your cabling, and it's really chunky. It's a lovely, lovely stitch. Now for the March project, you can completely work your entire project in this stitch if you wish. It's just a repeat of those 2 rows, and when you have the pattern, the descriptions I hope will help. Or you can do something else, and I've got what I call a slightly adjusted alpine stitch.